Live on YouTube. All right, we are now live. Welcome, everyone.
We
back
are delighted to have you here. Please feel free to ask us some questions.
If you don't know me, my name is Josh Goldstein. I'm an immigration lawyer in Los Angeles, and we help people with all sorts of immigration cases in all 50 states and around the world. And I have a very special guest today. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Halu Chitsazan. I was an applicant just like you, and I was waiting for more than a decade to get my visa.
Wow.
And actually, it was so frustrating, and I was so upset and disappointed. All aspects of my life and work were affected by the administrative processing. So I would love to help you to avoid waiting as much as possible.
That's great.
Thank you. The question is, Josh, that I received in Telegram is, when is the best time to file mandamus to avoid waiting?
When is the best time to file mandamus to avoid waiting? Well, before I answer that question, let me just explain a little more about what mandamus is for people who may not know. If you have an immigration case, the consulate, USCIS, and all the related agencies, they have a legal responsibility to process your paperwork and make a decision within a reasonable period of time. So if you apply for a visa and you go to the interview, and at the end of the interview, they say, we're not going to deny you, and we're also can't approve you, but we want you to keep waiting. And if a week goes by, you're not going to be happy because you're going to want to get a decision. If a month goes by, you're going to be quite worried because why has a whole month gone by, but you haven't gotten a decision yet? If 2 months go by, something seriously wrong has happened. Well, what if 3 or 4 months go by? What if 6 months go by? What if a year goes by? At some point, it becomes the waiting for the processing of your immigration case just becomes something that you can't take anymore. And what people do is they try to get a decision on their case. They call the consulate, they email them, they call a congressman, they do all these things. Nothing works at all. Nothing. The case remains stuck. And at that point, they start exploring other options. And that's where I come in, me and my law firm. What we do is we file something called a writ of mandamus lawsuit. And what that means is that we go to federal court and we actually sue the embassy or the consulate or USCIS or whoever's responsible for the delay. We file a lawsuit against them, and the basis of the lawsuit is that when you file an immigration case, as I said, they have to make a decision within a reasonable period of time. And when they don't do that, you can go to court and ask a judge to force the government to process your paperwork. And that's what we do, and that's how I help people. And so a lot of my conversations with people whose immigration cases are stuck concern the nature of this lawsuit and how it works and what they can expect from it and what their options are. And that's something that we want to explore today.
Sure. Let me translate it briefly for some Persians. Actually دوستان عزیز، آقای جاش گلدستین متخصص هستند در زمینه رفع تأخیر ویزا و ایشون برای شما مندمس فایل میکنن. به این صورت هستش که اگر تأخیر غیر منطقی توی پروسه مهاجرت شما پیش بیاد، میتونید به طور قانونی درخواست بدید که به پرونده شما رسیدگی بشه. در طی این دادخواست کاری که انجام میشه، سفارت، USCIS یا سازمان‌های دیگه مرتبط به اون رو ما علیهشون یه شکایت فایل میکنیم که چرا به پرونده شما توی زمان معقول رسیدگی نشده و بعد از گذشت چند هفته تا حدوداً 2 الی 3 ماه بعد شما ویزاتون رو دریافت میکنید. البته اگر که واجد شرایط باشه. Okay, sounds perfect, Josh.
Yeah, so something that we often deal with in our practice is what's called administrative processing. So I have a lot to say on this topic. I'm sure we have a lot of questions. But one of the things that I would like to say is that I think administrative processing is not correctly understood. Most people think that, well, there's only two things that we really know about administrative processing. That is, if you have administrative processing, it means that you went to a visa interview and you completed the interview, right? You showed up, you answered all their questions, you submitted the forms, you attended the interview, and the interview was complete. The second thing that we know is that no decision has been made on your visa, your visa application. You're not denied and you're not approved. Your immigration case is pending, and that's it. So we know that the interview was conducted and we know that your case was pending. That's the only thing that we know about administrative processing. We don't know whether they're checking anything at all. We don't know why a case was put in administrative processing. We don't know how long it's going to take. We don't know what they're checking. So all the questions that are asked about this, it's essentially a black box. And I think if you best understand administrative processing as a mysterious delay that happens after your interview, you'll be much further ahead. The goal of any visa applicant is to get their visa approved. It's not to get the administrative processing to be complete. They don't care. You don't really care about that. That's just a means to an end, which is getting the visa issued. So a lot of times something will happen and people will say, does this mean that administrative processing is over? Does that mean that, what does this mean? None of it means anything. The only thing that matters is whether your visa has been issued and it's in your hand. If it's not in your hand, then your case is still pending. Does that clarify things? Questions?
Yeah, that's I agree with you, and actually that's true. We don't know much about administrative processing. دوستان عزیز، سوالی که از آقای جاش پرسیدیم در مورد پروسه پردازش اداری یا AP، پاسخ ایشون این هستش که واقعا مثل یک راز مبهم میمونه و ما اطلاعات زیادی درباره این پروسه نداریم. اتفاقی که میفته اینه که بعد از اینکه شما توی یکی از سفارت‌های امریکا مصاحبه میشین، نه ویزای شما تایید میشه نه رد میشه و در واقع پرونده شما پن هستش، موفق هستش تا اینکه یک تصمیم گیری نهایی برای اون انجام بشه و این بلا تکلیفی در واقع تاثیر زیادی روی زندگی و کار خیلی از افراد گذاشته. کاری که بعد انجام بشه این هستش که شما بتونید mandamus فایل کنید که توی پاسخ سوال قبلشون توضیح دادم. Okay, sounds great. And I received another question. Actually, let me say that I'm so sad because Iranians are struggling with many difficult problems and financial problems as well. And we want to express our sincere empathy towards you. And also, I want to thank you, Josh, for creating the Telegram channel and supporting them, because now they have access to ask their questions for free. And I think it's helpful for them because many Iranian applicants cannot afford the lawyer's cost, but in this way, they can ask their question and get their answers for free.
Yeah, I mean, my goal really is to help people and to be a resource for the community. And it saddens me greatly to know what's going on in Iran and how people are struggling. And many of our clients are Persian. Many of them come from other areas that are also challenging. The situation in Pakistan is extremely serious, in Sudan, in Cuba, and many other places. We want to do what we can to help people get the visas that they deserve in a quick and a timely manner, and to try to clear up a lot of the misunderstanding that people have about U.S. immigration.
Yeah, that's great. دوستان، آقای جاش همدردیشون رو به خاطر شرایطی که باش مواجه هستین ابراز کردن و اینکه به خاطر اینکه شما بتونید سوالاتتون رو به طور رایگان بپرسید کانال تلگرام گلدستین ایمیگریشن لویرز رو راه انداختن که برای دسترسی به اون شما کافیه توی تلگرام Visas for Iranians رو سرچ بکنید. Our Telegram channel ID is Visas for Iranians. You can subscribe and send us your questions. Okay, and let's take the next question. Actually, the visa statistics for immigrant visa and the backlog report shows that the embassies are active, and especially the embassies near to Iran, Ankara, Yerevan, and Abu Dhabi. So it shows that Iranian get more than 7,000 visas per year. But Ahmad has the question. He said that why it takes too long to get an interview appointment while embassies are active, and he's been waiting for more than a year and 8 months.
Why does it take so long to get an interview at a consulate?
Yeah.
Well, that's a great question. I think most people would be very surprised to understand how incompetent, dysfunctional, and really bad the consulates are. They hold most visa applicants in contempt. They don't care at all. You're dealing with a very hostile environment when you apply for a visa. The consulates are not your friend. They're not following the law. Why would it take 2 or 3 years to get a visa interview? And I think the answer is that they don't care. They're incompetent. They're disorganized. What else can you say? They have made a decision not to process applications within a reasonable period of time. Last year, my office filed more than 500 lawsuits against consulates, embassies, and immigration agencies around the world.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, and it's a reflection of the level of frustration that ordinary people have. They can't get interviews, and then when they get an interview, they can't get a decision on their case. There's no way to communicate with the agencies. They've cut off all channels of communication. There's no way to talk to anyone. There's no way, they don't respond to emails. They have treated the people who use their services with contempt, with hostility. And the lack of professionalism and the quality or lack of quality of their decision-making, it all reflects a level of dysfunction that most people would be very surprised to understand. Let me give you another example of this.
Sure.
We have several cases that we've worked on with USCIS and with the State Department, with consulates, where there's been a long delay of an immigration case. We filed a lawsuit to challenge the delay, and then the U.S. attorney has come back to us and asked us to resubmit documents. Why? Because the consulate has told us that they've lost the documents.
Oh my God.
Files.
Oh my God, that's so bad.
So they've made people wait for months and months and months, and then they lost the file. So, what can you say about this? If you've been waiting for 30, 60, 90 days for your case, what can you say about an agency that would lose your file?
Yeah, actually, it's very bad. And for applicants who are waiting for more than a year for their interview appointment, what is your recommendation? What
For
they can do?
applicants that have been waiting more than a year?
Yeah.
Well, for anyone who has an immigration case that's stuck, there are essentially 2 courses of action. One, is to wait or keep waiting, right?
Yeah.
Because at some point you would hope that the immigration case would get processed. So that's one possibility. And the second possibility is to explore whether a writ of mandamus lawsuit would be appropriate. If someone has been waiting for at least a year, their case was what we call documentarily qualified. That means that you've supplied all the necessary documents that you should supply to the immigration service, and they've said your case is ready for an interview. If a year has gone by and you haven't had an interview, I think then it's time to consider a writ of mandamus lawsuit, to challenge them and to compel them to schedule an interview. We've had cases in court where the government comes back and says, well, we can't schedule the interview because there's a backlog. But that's not an excuse. That's a reason for them to do what they're just not doing their job. They're not doing their job. They're not processing people's paperwork.
Yeah, I see that. دوستان سوالی که مطرح شد این هستش که دوستی توی سفارت ابوظبی برای 1 سال و 8 ماه هستش که منتظر وقت مصاحبه هستن، ولی متاسفانه هنوز وقتی دریافت نکردن. سوال ما از آقای جاش این بود که توی این مرحله چه کاری میشه انجام داد، چون آماری که ما به شکل ماهانه روی سایت MBC مشاهده میکنیم این هست که سفارت‌ها فعال هستن و در سال بیشتر از 7,000 ویزا به ایرانیان تعلق میگیره. منتها خیلی از افراد همچنان بیشتر از 1 سال هست که منتظر وقت مصاحبه هستن. و آقای گلدستین گفتن که مشکلی که وجود داره مسائل عدیده‌ای هست که توی سیستم مهاجرت MBC و سفارت‌ها وجود داره و اگر که بیشتر از 1 سال از زمان داکیومنتری کوالیفاید شما میگذره، یعنی مدارک شما تایید شده، همه چیز کامل بوده ولی هنوز وقت سفارت نگرفتید، میتونید mandamus فایل کنید تا سریعتر به پرونده شما رسیدگی بشه. Okay, sounds perfect.
Let me answer one of the questions we got from one of our friends on YouTube. This is from Aman Ashan Gondal. He says, hello, I hope you're fine. I was interviewed on October 2021, and last month I got a email for fresh medical. I submitted my medical, and I got an email to submit my passport. My passports are ready. My visa class is IR2. My last day, my visa changed from IR2 to F11. Today, my status changed to expiring soon from refusal. Can you guide me about this? As I have been contacted the embassy through inquiries and logged in through CX, I don't understand why this is happening. Well, in order for me to really give you definitive answers, I'd have to actually review your case. I have a few thoughts that I want to share with you. First of all, there is a tool called CEAC, if you don't know about that, CEAC. And it's an online tool where you can log in and view the status of your case. This is for visas. And I encourage everyone to use that for their immigration case. But you don't want to rely on it. It's not an accurate tool for case status. And so if they say that your case is refused, or it's ready, or it's issued, or it's expiring soon, what, if anything, those things mean is very unclear. So you should take those messages and you should pay attention to them, but you should take everything in stride because it may not be accurate. I think that this is a case where you might consider doing a mandamus lawsuit. And in the descriptions on YouTube and Facebook, I have put a link where you can answer a few questions and book a free meeting, a free strategy session with our team. We have an amazing team. And if you're curious and interested in a mandamus lawsuit, I would encourage everyone to explore that with our team. And people have questions. How much do we charge? How long is it going to take? Do I have to go to court? What do I do? They have all these questions about that. And if you have questions about your individual case, whether it be appropriate, we would be willing to chat with you. Our team is amazing, and they can chat with you for free and you can decide for yourself whether you think that this is a good tool for your case. But anytime you go to an interview and you get a request for new medical and send in your passport, that's a good sign. And why we have all these classification changes or additional delays is really a mystery to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. Actually, let me translate that.
Yeah.
دوستان آقای جوش در مورد این موضوع توضیح دادن که یک تیم متخصص از نیروی حقوقی و وکلای مهاجرتی دارن که میتونن کیس شما رو به طور رایگان ارزیابی کنن و اگر شما شرایط لازم رو داشته باشین میتونید یک جلسه مشاوره رایگان با ایشون و تیمشون داشته باشین. ما لینک ها رو با شما شیر میکنیم و میتونید از طریق اون لینک ها درخواست ارزیابی کیستون رو بدید. Okay, perfect. Do you want me to
would love to hear some more questions.
Yeah, perfect. Actually, let me share that. Your team don't accept some Iranian cases. And after that, they came to me and asked me to actually request you to accept their cases.
Sure.
I explained to them that there is a qualification quiz, they should take it, and we should make sure that they are qualified for filing mandamus. So could you please tell us a little bit how you filter your cases?
Yeah. So first of all, we file mandamus lawsuits to challenge processing delays for many different types of immigration cases. E2 investor visas, naturalization applications, people who have completed the naturalization interview, people who have applied for green cards, people who are waiting for their work permits, people who are in administrative processing, people who can't seem to get an interview for their visa, people whose cases are stuck at the visa petition stage. So there are many different types of cases, and then there are many different stages of processing. So we have set up internal rules in our firm for which cases that we think that we can get a good result with. And that's what we have done. We've made decisions, strategic decisions based on their experience. And these are rules that are particular to us in our firm and what we think is true. Other attorneys might have different view of things, and it doesn't mean that they're wrong. It just means that they have a different view. For example, we help people whose immigration cases are stuck if they've applied for the diversity visa lottery. But we don't take cases where people have applied for the diversity visa lottery, the green card lottery, the DV lottery, if they haven't already had an interview. So we require someone to have completed an interview before we will take their case. Why is that? Why have we done that? Well, last year we litigated about 20 different visa delay cases for DV lottery delays. And we filed lawsuits for people who hadn't yet gotten an interview. We didn't get very good results. I have to be honest with you. And so we've decided not to take cases where people haven't gotten an interview for a DV lottery. And that's based on our experience and our disappointing results last year. It's when we say that we can't take someone's case, it's not because we don't want to help. We do. It's because we want to make sure that we only take cases where people have a great chance of getting a good result. I'll give you another example. We do not take any Persian case where someone has served in the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or SEPA, a division of the Iranian military. And so we ask people before they meet with us, did you ever serve in any capacity in SEPA? And if they say yes, we disqualify their case. Now, why is that? Does that mean that we don't like people who have served in SEPA? No, it means that we have discovered through our work that if someone served in SEPA, they're very unlikely to get their visa issued. And so we don't want people to have a disappointing result. Now, when we say we can't take your case because you served in SEPA, a lot of times people will say, wait a minute, I did serve in SEPA, but it wasn't my decision. The government forced me to do it. And I worked in the library doing translation. And I only worked for 1 day. And then I was discharged. And they make all these reasons. And, you know, if it were my decision, I would give them all visas, right?
Yeah.
But I can't. Like, I have to make a decision about whether I should take on a case. And I want to make sure that anybody who hires me has a good chance of getting a good result. And if you served in SEPA or you applied for the DV lottery and haven't had an interview, then in my experience, it's unlikely that hiring me is going to be in your interest. And so I do it out of a sense of professionalism, acting in the client's interest, and making sure that people who hire me have a good result.
Yeah, perfect. Actually, I understand that it's unfair for Iranians, unfortunately, but we can
Very unfair.
Yeah, we can do anything for people who served in SEPA. So,
Yeah, and now some people say, oh, well, there is a waiver for people who've served in SEPA.
Yeah.
And you know, that's a whole other conversation, but I've never prepared such a waiver, and it's outside my experience. So I have to make decisions about where I think someone's going to get a good result. If somebody comes to me with an immigration case and my firm makes an offer to take on their case, it means that we have decided, we've carefully reviewed it. We've decided that we think we can help you and that we think you have a good chance. There's no guarantee of anything, but we've made a decision based on our experience, our knowledge, our professionalism, our insights. And if we decide not to take your case, it just means that you're not an appropriate fit for our particular office. There could be some other attorney out there who does a great job, and everybody who hires this lawyer gets their visas approved, even if they were in SEPA. Or maybe there's some other lawyer who can get your visa issued if you apply for the DV lottery and haven't had an interview yet. But I have decided not to proceed with such cases.
Okay, that's great. Let me translate that with Persians. دوستان سوالی که از آقای جاش پرسیدیم درباره این بود که ایشون یه سری از کیس‌ها رو قبول نمی‌کنن و درخواستایی رو داشتیم که دوباره لطفاً بازنگری کنید و پرونده ما رو قبول کنید که بتونیم با فایل کردن منdamus سریع‌تر ویزامون رو بگیریم. ولی در واقع توی لافرم ایشون اتفاقی که میفته این هستش که با توجه به گسترده بودن زمینه‌های مهاجرتی و سرویس‌های مختلف، از کیس‌های لاتاری، درخواست سیتیزنشیپ، درخواست ویزاهایی که در واقع از طریق استخدام و پروژه‌های کاری اتفاق میفته و ویزای مهاجرت خانوادگی، ایشون کاری که انجام میدن این هستش که چندین تا فیلتر گذاشتن که هر فردی که احتمال داره mandamus رو در واقع براشون دیسمیس بشه و نتونن از طریق اون ویزا بگیرن رو کیس ها رو قبول نمی کنن. 2 تا مورد اصلی رو ایشون اشاره کردن. یکی کیس های لاتاری هستش که قبل از اینکه اینترویو بگیرن ما کاری براشون انجام نمیدیم، چون ایشون تجربه داشتن چندین mandamus برای دوستانی که منتظر وقت لاتاری بودن فایل کردن ولی نتیجه نداشته. به همین خاطر دوستانی که هنوز وقت مصاحبه نگرفتن لطفاً درخواست mandamus ندن، چون ریسک ریجکت شدن زیاد هستش و هزینه و زمانتون به هدر میره. و مورد دوم هم دوستانی هستن که توی سپاه خدمت کردن، متاسفانه راهی برای دریافت ویزا برای این دوستان وجود نداره و آقای جاش گلدستین هم هیچ گونه کیسی رو که سربازیشون توی سپاه بوده باشه حتی برای 1 هفته یا توی بخشای اداری این سازمان به هیچ عنوان قبول نمی‌کنن. Okay, that's it. Let's go to the next question.
Just had a comment from somebody on Facebook. It says, I'm one of your previous clients. I got my immigration visa issued after 2.5 years stuck in administrative processing. That was last year, and now I have a green card 6 months ago.
Oh, that's a great news.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. Yeah, I'm glad I could help you, and I hope that other people who are stuck in administrative processing will see that message and know that there's help. There's help and there's hope, and you don't have to remain stuck. Let's see.
Yeah, actually, the mandamus is effective, right?
It is effective. We get really good results. And sometimes one of the main questions I get about mandamus lawsuits is, well, if I hire you to do a mandamus lawsuit, what should I expect? How long is it going to take?
Yeah,
And
that's a common question.
it's a great question. And the answer is that we don't really know. We have some ideas about how long that we think it might take. And I'll share those with you. First of all, it takes us about 3 weeks to prepare a lawsuit for most people. So when you hire us, we send you a questionnaire, you complete the questionnaire, and then at that point, it takes us about 3 weeks to prepare and file the lawsuit. After we've filed the lawsuit, then there's usually a period of about 2 months where we don't really hear anything back. And it's in the third month that we often see our best results. Now, the time frame that I give most people is approximately 3 or 4 months. Now, we've had plenty of cases that have been approved in less than 2 months. Those are our best results. And we've had other cases that have taken 6 months or more. But most people, it's 3 or 4 months. And, you know, that's what we expect. And so what would make a case take 1 month versus 5 or 6 months? The answer is, I don't know. I had a case recently that I expected would only take 2 or 3 months. It took 6 months. But let me give you a few factors that I think come into play. First of all, have you had an interview yet? If you haven't had an interview yet, then scheduling the interview and getting your interview completed and processed and reviewed is going to take more time. Secondly, certain courts and certain judges, things tend to go a little bit faster based on which attorney is assigned to your case, which court, which judge, and many other factors. Secondly, sometimes people need to redo their medical exams. And if you redo the medical exam, that could add another month or two to your case. And I know it's frustrating for people that have traveled and incurred the expense of doing a medical exam only to find out they have to do another medical exam. That's very frustrating. But on the other hand, if the government requires you to do another medical exam, then you have to do another medical exam. What can you do? That's just the way it is. So there's lots of factors, and each case is different, and it depends on many things. But I think a rough guideline, without knowing anything about your case, a rough guideline is maybe 3 or 4 months.
Okay, I see
File a
that.
lawsuit and wait 3 or 4 months. I think there's a pretty good chance you can get it approved.
بله دوستان، سوالی که پرسیده شد که معمولا توی تصمیم گیری برای فایل کردن منdamus تاثیر داره، این هستش که چقدر زمان میبره از زمانی که ما منdamus فایل کنیم تا زمانی که ویزامون رو بگیریم. آقای جاش گفتن که ما نمیدونیم چقدر طول میکشه، چون واقعیت این هستش که به فاکتورهای زیادی بستگی داره. یکی از اون دادگاه و قاضی هستیم پرونده رو بررسی میکنن. مورد دیگه این هستش که آیا شما مصاحبه شدین یا مصاحبه نشدین، آیا نیاز به مدیکال مجدد دارین یا اینکه توی همون بازه زمانی حدود 6 ماهه در واقع شما کلیر شدین. و اینکه به طور میانگین حدود 3 هفته طول میکشه از زمان امضای هر دو تا اینکه ایشون و تیمشون برایشون منdamus رو فایل کنن. بعد یه زمان حدود 2 ماهه هست و با وجود اینکه کیسای زیادی زیر 2 ماه ویزا گرفتن، ولی تعدادی از کیس هم هستش که حدود 3 الی 4 ماه زمان برده. و اینکه دقیقاً چرا یک کیس زیر 1 ماه کلیر میشه و کیسایی هستن که بیشتر طول میکشن، این برای کسی مشخص نیستش. Okay, perfect. Let me ask you another question.
Sure.
Actually, on NBC website, there is a phrase. It says that before making inquiries about your case status, when your case in administrative processing, applicants should wait at least 180 days and from the date of the interview. So, as it's actually so clear, it's about asking embassy, but I think it's some misunderstanding for some applicants.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, and the
So,
question
so,
is, should they wait 180 days to file mandamus or not?
so the website says you should wait before inquiring as to the status of your visa application. You should wait 180 days. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It means nothing at all whatsoever. It doesn't mean that you can't ask them on a day 179. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean anything. And so, but I think what people have done is they have in their mind that there's something that's going to happen at 180 days. 180 days is fixed as a period of time that has some importance in their minds. And they think that, for example, they can't file a mandamus lawsuit until 180 days have passed. I want you to think about that for a minute, because it's first of all, it's completely not true. All that you need to do to file a mandamus lawsuit, the basis of the lawsuit, is that there's been an unreasonable delay. But imagine someone thinking that you have to wait 6 months. I just don't think that's true. I think that the amount of time that you have to wait depends on your particular circumstances. What if somebody needed medical care and was dying? You're going to try to make them wait 6 months, 180 days? We've filed plenty of lawsuits when people haven't even gotten the interview yet. So think about that for a minute. Whenever someone comes to me and says, hey, can I file a mandamus lawsuit? Have I waited long enough? I start asking some questions. When did you file the lawsuit? When was your interview? And then I ask them, how has this delay impacted your life? Tell me what's going on with your family. If someone is seeking an F1 visa, for example, they may be at risk of losing their scholarship. Maybe they have a scholarship for a PhD at MIT, and this is going to go down the drain. And if we don't get the visa approved quickly, they're going to lose everything. Or maybe it's a job opportunity, or maybe there's a sick child that someone needs to take care of. So I want to know about the hardship. I want to know about the length of time it's been processed, and I want to know about someone's individual hardship.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, دوستان آقای جاش در مورد اینکه آیا ما باید 180 روز یا 6 ماه منتظر بشیم تا mandamus فایل کنیم یا خیر، توضیح دادن که نیازی نیست که 6 ماه منتظر باشین برای اینکه ببینیم چه زمانی برای کیس شما مناسب هستش. کاری که باید انجام بشه اینه که یک مشاوره رایگان بگیرید، ایشون ببینن که تاریخ‌های کیس شما کی هست، چه زمانی اپلای کردید، مصاحبه‌تون کی بوده و حتی تاریخ دیکیو شما و اینکه و همچنین شرایط سختی که ممکن داشته باشین. اگر سریعتر وارد امریکا نشین با چه مشکلاتی ممکن مواجه بشین. اگر خدای نکرده بیماری واسه اعضای خانواده درجه یک شما هست یا یک فرصت شغلی یا یک فرصت تحصیلی از دست میره، خب شما نمیتونید 6 ماه صبر کنید. به همین خاطر کیسای زیادی رو ایشون فایل کردن که زیر 6 ماه انتظار بوده و در واقع دوستان زیادی زیر این مدت زمان ویزا گرفتن. Okay, actually, I see some wrong information and some myths in Telegram groups, and I'm happy that we have a Telegram channel to actually promote and publish correct information.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love the Telegram group. I often go in there and I use Google Translate to figure out what people are saying and try to understand what's on people's minds so that I can provide value. And I think there's so many mysteries about immigration and visa processing that people have come up with their own ideas about things. It's sad.
Yeah, I agree with you. دوستان ما یه کانال تلگرام داریم، آیدیش هستش ویزاز فور ایرانیانز. شما میتونید اونجا از اطلاعات جدید استفاده کنید، اخبار سفارت ها USCIS و انگلیسی رو دنبال کنید و همچنین اینکه سوالاتتون رو برای ما بفرستید. آقای جای سوالات شما رو پاسخ میدن و من به زبان فارسی اونجا منتشر میکنم. به خاطر اینکه توی گروه‌های تلگرام ما بعضا می‌بینیم که اطلاعات اشتباهی داره دست به دست میچرخه، به خاطر اینکه شاید دانش حقوقی لازم وجود نداره و دوستان صرفا نظرهای شخصی یا چیزهایی رو که شنیدن رو به اشتراک میذارن. Okay.
Let me answer this question here. This is a pretty good one that I saw. It says, a Facebook user, hi Josh, I have a question about my husband's delayed case. I did a mandamus with you guys, smart guy, and the court already set a 60-day time frame. Only 17 days left before the time frame, and still no movement on my husband's case. Is there any chance that the court will extend one more month for the defendants to answer the lawsuit? Let me explain the answer to this question and give you a little more background into how this works. When you file a mandamus lawsuit, the government has 60 days to file a response to the lawsuit. So if your case is not approved before the time to issue the response, what happens in most cases is that the government asks me as your lawyer to agree to an extension of time in the case. And as a professional courtesy, we always agree. Now, this is very frustrating because the whole purpose of the lawsuit is to get a decision on your case very quickly. And it's urgent. Your case is urgent. So each day that the case remains processing, the injury, the hardship continues. So why do we agree to an extension? That seems to be something that would be run counter to the purpose of the lawsuit. But actually, we expect an extension in almost all cases. That's because most cases are not completed within 2 months of when we file the lawsuit. Most people's cases take more than 2 months. And if it takes more than 2 months, that means that you're going to get an extension. Usually a 30 or 60-day extension is enough time for them to complete the processing of your case. And sometimes people will need a second extension. But that's why I usually think a 3 to 4 month processing time from when we file the lawsuit is a fair and reasonable amount of time. If you expect that you're going to get approved within 2 months, it's very unlikely that that would happen. I don't think I can deliver on that. But if you give me 3 months or 4 months, it's more likely. And also, I think it's worth pointing out that there's anytime you hire a lawyer, whether it's me or anyone else, there's never a 100% guarantee that you're going to get your visa approved. People have hired me and had, unfortunately, have had cases denied. That happens. We hate that. We try to prevent it, but it does inevitably happen.
Yeah, I see that. دوستان یکی از در واقع افرادی که موقع جاش گلدستین منdamus فایل کردن سوالی پرسیدن در مورد اینکه در مورد اکستنشن و آقای جاش توضیح دادن که اگر بعضی از کیس‌ها بیشتر از 2 ماه طول بکشن اکستنشن میخورن و این لزوما بد نیست. به این معنی هست که وقت بیشتری نیاز هستش که به پرونده شما رسیدگی بشه. به همین خاطر که ایشون اعلام کردن که حدود 3 الی 4 ماه ممکن بعضی از کیس‌ها طول بکشن و چه شما با آقای جاش گلدستین منdamus فایل کنید و چه با هر وکیل با تجربه دیگه‌ای، موضوعی که هست این که هیچ کس نمیتونه گارانتی کنه که شما بعد از فایل کردن منdamus حتما ویزا میگیرید. ولی نظر شخصی من هرگز این هستش که ما کیس‌های زیادی رو داریم میبینیم که منdamus فایل میکنن و ویزا میگیرن. یعنی درصد کیس‌هایی که ویزا نگرفتن بسیار پایین هستش. در صورتی که شما کوالیفای باشید، یعنی سربر سپاه نبوده باشین، مصاحبتون رو برای لاتاری رفته باشین و سایر شرایط دیگه که توی کویز منdamus مشخص میشه. Okay, go ahead, Josh. Do you want me to share? Go ahead.
I would just want to say, if anyone is interested, if anyone has a delayed visa and they're curious about whether mandamus would be appropriate for them, they can reach out and schedule a free strategy session with our team. There's a link in the description for this video on YouTube or in my bio on Instagram. And it's a resource. We don't charge for the strategy session. And if you're curious about how much it costs and how long it takes and whether it would work for your case, we would be happy to invite you to encourage you to meet with our team.
Sounds perfect. So I will share the links for mandamus qualification quiz as well as our Telegram channel for Persians as well. So actually, I think it's 3 minutes more. So
Yeah.
if you have any wrap up or points to share with Iranians.
I want everyone to know that you can do it. You can reach your immigration goal. And you should be inspired to reach your goal. You know that this works. And just because your immigration case is stuck now doesn't mean that it's always going to be stuck. And we found that waiting leads to more waiting, and that people who file these lawsuits tend to get great results. And we're here to be a resource for you, to answer your questions, to help you. And if you're ready to stop waiting, we're ready to help you.
Perfect. دوستان اگر که کیس شما جایگیر کرده توی AP هستش یا برای مسابقه هست، این به این معنی نیست که همچنان تو همین وضعیت میمونه. شما میتونید اقدام کنید که ویزای خودتون رو بگیرین و همچنین اینکه منابعی هست به طور رایگان که بتونید پاسخ سوالاتتون رو بگیرید و بدونید که دقیقاً توی این مرحله چه کاری میتونید انجام بدید. Thank you very much, Josh. It was so
Thank you so much, LA. It was really informative, and everybody out there know that you can reach your immigration goals.
Yeah, sure.